Let's check on shares of Roku. That stock under pressure, off just about 4%, now falling despite the fact that the company announced a second round of layoffs. This time, the company is cutting 6% of its staff. Now, this news follows yesterday's announcement from EA that company is cutting some of its positions. Yahoo Finance senior tech reporter Allie Garfinkle is here with the latest. And Allie, I think a lot of the talk here when it comes to Roku, when it comes to EA especially, some of these cuts, are they positioning themselves to be acquired? What do you think?
It's a great question, but I think there are two parts to consider here. The first is the buzz of what might happen, right? And then my instincts. So the buzz, right? There's always these murmurings of consolidation in media and tech. And for Roku, there actually have been a number of acquirers who've actually been floated over the last few years. And there's some of the biggest names out there, right? Google, for instance, in 2020, and then Netflix last summer. Actually, last summer, when Netflix hit headlines as a possible acquirer for Roku, the company's stock shot up. So the street like it. The street likes the idea of Roku getting acquired, certainly. That said, my first job was as an M&A reporter. Did you know this?
I did. That's why you were the perfect person to ask.
Yes. And philosophically speaking, right, a deal is a fault line, right? It's a moment where there's a gap between what a company aspires to and what it actually has, right? And I think the question about Roku is, what does Roku have, right? They have this OS, they have an advertising network, they have a subscription business, they have this fledgling TV business even, right? And who needs that, I think, is the question investors should be asking as we're trying to figure out whom it might be. The reality is I'm not expecting anything imminently, Shauna. It's a difficult deal-making environment right now. Deal makers famously do not like high interest rates and economic volatility. So deal-making is done for now, but not forever, right? I have a lot of sources who've said to me, for instance, that deal-making should probably pick up in the back half of 2023. So maybe look for something to happen with Roku then, and definitely in tech and M&A more broadly.
But you didn't answer your own question, which is who does need that? Is there usual suspects?
I think it's an interesting situation because
I've been thinking about it the whole time, and no one comes to mind.
No one comes
in particular,
mind
because they started making TVs.
Well, this is right. It feels
in
some ways it's the logical thing to make TVs, and in other ways it's completely out of the blue, right? Yeah. So I actually think you're right, Dave, because I think there's a key problem with Roku, which is there's a couple of possible fits, right? Like you see how Google might want it, you'd see how an Apple might want it, you'd see how a Netflix might want it. That said, there's no real Cinderella glass slipper perfect fit for Roku, is there? It's also a mega deal, right? In the end, it would be a deal. I think Roku's market cap right now is around $9 billion. It would be a pretty big, highly leveraged deal. Someone would really have to believe in Roku and really want it to make that deal. And yes, they're cutting. It's a pivotal moment for them, definitely. They're clearly trying to get operating expenses right, but they still clearly have a long way to go there. Reading that SEC filing, even if they're slimming down for this deal, even if there was that magic glass slipper fit, I don't know if it would even be the right time now. Does that make sense?
It does. And you get the sense the tech layoffs are far from over, so you'll be back soon, sadly, on that regard. We always love having you on that regard. That's how I couch that, you see?